You know what's wild? Netflix figured out something that most creators completely miss. They cracked the code on making people physically unable to stop consuming content. And I'm not talking about good content, I'm talking about content that creates genuine addiction. Most people think Netflix succeeded because they have good shows. That's not it. Netflix succeeded because they have engineered binge behavior into their entire system. And today, I'm going to break down the exactly how they did it and how you can steal their strategy to make people binge your brand like they binge Stranger Things. Here's what nobody tells you about the content creation. You are not competing with other creators in your niche. You are competing with Netflix. You are competing with TikTok. You are competing with every piece of entertainment that exists on the internet. Because while you're creating individual pieces of content hoping someone will notice, Netflix is creating psychological experiences that keep people glued to their screens for hours together. They have turned entertainment into science, and that science can be applied to any brand, any creator, and any business. I have spent months studying Netflix engagement strategies, and what I discovered completely changed how I think about the content. Today, I'm going to give you everything: the psychology, the framework, and the exact tactics, all of it. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Netflix doesn't just make good content, they make addictive content. And addiction isn't an accident, it's engineered. And that's called the dopamine loop system. Here's what happens in your brain when you binge Netflix. Every episode ending creates what psychologists call an information gap. Your brain literally craves closure. But instead of giving you the complete closure, Netflix gives you just enough resolution to feel satisfied. Then immediately opens a new information gap. This triggers the dopamine release. Not when you get the answer, but when you're anticipating the answer. It's the same neurochemical response that drives gambling addiction, social media addiction, and every other form of behavioral addiction possible. Netflix has found that 70% of the viewers who are finished a certain episode in a series went on to complete the entire series. That's not coincidence, that's engineering. But here's where it gets really smart. Netflix doesn't rely on your conscious decision to watch the next episode. They make the process automatic. The autoplay feature removes the friction of your choice. Your brain processes this like an automatic rather than conscious, which dramatically increases the binge behavior. Think about it. When was the last time you consciously decided to watch 5 episodes of something? You probably decided to watch one, then autoplay made the rest feel inevitable. Netflix also discovered something crucial about how our brain processes narrative information. Instead of creating individual episodes that stand alone, they structure entire seasons as 3-act stories. Episodes 1 to 3 as Act 1, episodes 4 to 7 as Act 2, and the remaining episodes as Act 3. This creates a deeper immersion because your brain isn't constantly having to establish new context. You are not watching 7 separate stories. You are watching one story told across multiple chapters, and once your brain commits to a story, it desperately wants the resolution. Now, if you are running an agency or coaching business, and if you want to turn this content strategy into an actual sales calls, I need to tell you something. The strategy I am sharing today is exactly what I use to help my clients to get 10 to 30 qualified sales calls every month using YouTube sales funnels. If you want me to show exactly how to implement this for your business, there's a link in the description to book a free strategy call. But keep watching because I'm about to show you the exact framework that makes this all work. Now, here's what most creators completely miss the boat. They're creating isolated pieces of content, individual videos, standalone posts, one-off articles. Netflix doesn't create individual episodes hoping someone will watch. They create series. And there's a massive psychological difference in them. When someone discovers a Netflix series, they just don't see on one episode. They see 8, 10, or 13 episodes waiting for them. This creates what I call the intellectual FOMO. They know there's more value waiting, and their brain starts calculating the total potential value and not just the individual episode value. This is exactly what you need to do with your brand content. Stop creating individual pieces of content and start creating content series. A content series is a 5 to 10 pieces of content that share a connected theme and build on each other in a logical sequence. But here's the key. Each piece must create an information gap that only the next piece can fill. For example, instead of creating one video about how to build a business, you create a 7-part series where the first episode will be like the business model that made me 100k and why 99% of the people gets wrong. And the second episode will be like the validation framework every successful businesses use. And the third episode will be like how to find your first 100 customers without spending a dollar. And you know how it continues. Did you notice how each title creates curiosity about the next piece? That's intentional gap creation process. Now, here's where you have a choice. Netflix releases everything at once because they want maximum engagement in a compressed time frame. But for personal brands, I have found a different approach which works better. Release the entire series announcement upfront, but deliver one piece per week. This creates an anticipation and gives people time to implement what they have learned. It also extends your engagement window frame from one binge session to 7 to 10 weeks of consistent touch points. But creating a series isn't enough. You need to engineer the engagement mechanisms that keep people coming back. Netflix has discovered something fascinating. There's always one specific episode in a series that determines whether someone will finish the entire thing or not. For Mad Men, it was the episode 6. For other shows, it might be episode 3 or 4. You need to identify your hook moment for every series you create. This is the moment when someone goes from casually interested to genuinely invested. And you need to engineer your content to get possible to the moment as quickly as possible because this moment is very, very important. For most educational content, the hook moment happens when someone gets their first aha moment. That is, when they realize you understand their problem better than they understand it themselves. So, front load your value. Give them the biggest insight in the episode 2 or 3, not the episode 7. Every Netflix episode ends with some form of cliffhanger. Not necessarily a dramatic cliffhangers, but information gaps that create forward momentum. You need the same mechanism in your content series. Each piece should end with a preview of what comes next, a question that only the next piece can answer, a partial framework that gets completed in the next piece, or a case study that gets resolved in the next piece. The goal is to make not watching the next piece feel like leaving a story unfinished. Here's the thing. When you do this right, when you create content that people genuinely can't stop consuming, those engaged viewers become your highest converting prospects. This is exactly how I help my agency and coaching business owners turn their YouTube content into 10 to 30 qualified sales calls every damn month. If you want to see how this works for your specific business, click the link in the description to book a strategy call. Now, let me show you how to optimize the system for maximum results. Netflix also uses a sophisticated data to understand exactly what keeps the people engaged. They track when people pause, when they skip, when they rewind, when they stop watching. This data tells them exactly which moments create the engagement and which moments creates the drops off. And you need your own version of this. Track your metrics obsessively. Read your YouTube analytics like crazy. That is their retention rates. Where do people drop off in your videos? Which content in your series gets the most engagement? What topics generate the most comments and questions? Which content pieces lead to the most conversions possible? Use this data to optimize your future series. Double down on what works, eliminate what doesn't. Netflix leverages social proof brilliantly. They show you what's trending, what your friends are watching, and what's popular in your area. This creates a FOMO and social validation for consumption choices. Build this into your content series. Share behind the scenes content about how many people are following the series. Create a community around your series. Encourage people to share their progress. Make consumption feel like joining a movement, not just watching some content on a random YouTube channel. Now, here's what the strategy gets really powerful. Netflix doesn't create shows. They create entire ecosystems around their shows. Merchandises, social media content, partnerships, spin-offs, documentary about the shows. Your content series should work the same way like the Netflix ducks. Here's what I want you to understand. Netflix didn't create accidental binge-worthy content. They engineered it using psychology, data, and systematic optimization. Every aspect of their platform is designed to keep you watching. And right now, most creators are playing an entirely different game. They are creating individual pieces of content hoping for viral moments. But viral moments doesn't build brands, systems do. The content series framework I just shared with you is that system. It turns casual viewers into engaged audiences. It transforms one time visitors into long term followers. It builds the kind of brand loyalty that Netflix has spent billions perfecting. But here's the thing, information without implementation is just entertainment. You now have the framework, but the framework only works if you use it properly. Here's what you are going to do: pick one topic you know deeply, something you could talk about for hours, something that solves a real problem for your audience, and turn the topic into your first content series. See ya.